came into my life not with noise, but with the softness of something already known. Born small, dark, and fragile, the only one of the litter to fall between the stairs. That fall could have broken her, but she rose, quiet, watching. And the moment I saw her, I knew. She wasn't just a kitten. She had chosen me. While the others expressed their lives in playful ways, each of them sacred, carrying her lineage with dignity and love, she simply watched, silent and still, as though carrying a different thread of memory. She listened. She moved as if she remembered something I didn't. Often she would rest across my root chakra, and sometimes over my solar plexus, not for her own comfort, but for mine, as if she could feel where my soul had come loose, and without a word, she anchored it. She didn't need to be seen. She needed to be present, and her presence was everything. I, on the other hand, was always in motion. My life was filled with distraction, the kind of daily noise that keeps one just far enough from truth. But she never mirrored that. She waited in stillness, a witness, a reminder of the silence I had long forgotten. Time passed, not in silence, but in a rhythm I couldn't yet hear. The days blurred together in a cycle of distractions and unspoken tensions, the kind that hum quietly beneath the surface until they are too loud to ignore. But the signs didn't begin with her illness alone. They began with me. Subtle shifts in my spirit, echoes of unrest I tried to drown in motion. She saw them before I did, holding space in the quiet, waiting for me to see what she already knew. I had started a job that, on the surface, seemed easy, but beneath that surface, it touched something deeper. My ego. It wasn't the difficulty of the task itself, but what it represented, a sense of stagnation, of going against the pull I felt in my soul. I knew, on some level, that I was meant for something greater, that I had a calling beyond routine. Maybe she was trying to teach me patience. Maybe she was showing me how to endure without losing oneself. But my ego resisted. It raged silently at what it saw as failure, limitation, confinement. And in that resistance, I carried a heaviness, one I didn't know how to name. I brought it home each day, unaware of the silent offering she made in return. She met that energy not with fear, but with grace. She absorbed what I couldn't process, not because she had to, but because she chose to. She never blamed me. She never asked for apology. She came knowing what I could not yet see, and she met it all with love, not sorrow. Her presence was never about suffering, it was about remembering. And through her stillness, she reminded me of who I was, before the noise, before the forgetting. Her tummy was upset, growling often, restless. She would eat, but her body would soon release what it could not hold, as though it instinctively rejected more than just food. It was as if her very being was trying to expel what didn't belong to her, what she had taken in from the world around us, especially from me. Each purge felt symbolic, like her body was a vessel too sacred to carry unspoken sorrow. I now see it as a quiet rebellion against the burdens I unknowingly placed on her, the heaviness I brought home, the emotional shadows I hadn't dared to face. She became a mirror to my own unrest, purging not just for herself, but for me, making space where I had allowed none. But even that was sacred. She wasn't absorbing my pain as a burden. She was showing me how to move it. Her body was not a battleground. It was a teacher. Every release was a lesson in letting go, a demonstration of how to transmute what is not yours into freedom. It was not just digestion, it was transmutation. Her body carried the echoes of my inner noise, and with every release she offered a lesson I hadn't yet learned to read. I didn't understand it at the time, but now I wonder if she was taking in my energy, trying to hold what I couldn't process. Maybe her body was rejecting more than food. Maybe she was purging what I refused to face, the emotions I buried, the truth I denied. She was sensitive, a mirror, and she felt it all. I didn't want to leave, but I had to travel. The reason felt simple at the time, a sudden, persistent toothache that had begun just after a meditation where I tried to connect with my ancestors. It became too much to ignore, and the only solution meant leaving the country for a while. Before I left the country, I shared a night with her, not just in body, but in deep presence. We sat together in quiet, our energies entangled. I placed my hand on her belly and then on my own, and in that moment, our bodies spoke to one another. The tension, the discomfort, the unspoken knowing, it flowed between us. Our tummies moved in rhythm, and though it was subtle, it was profound, as if her body was mirroring my own internal chaos. That night, she taught me something I'm still struggling to fully understand: what unconditional love truly means. Not love that asks or demands or needs to be recognized, but love that simply stays, that simply gives, that endures. I brought a crystal to help, calling the violet flame to surround us. It did, wrapping her in healing light, teaching me in silence. All night I listened, I learned, I hoped. I thought that maybe if I understood the lesson, she would stay. Her breath slowed, her eyes lost their fire. A quiet shift took place. I saw it, but I didn't believe it. I told myself she would heal, that it would pass, that she'd stay. And maybe, just maybe, if I had understood the signs, if I had truly listened, I might have acted differently. I might have held her when it mattered most. That ache has no words, only a weight, a silence. That evening, I sat with a friend beside a fire in the stillness of night, heart heavy with the knowing that she was fading. I turned inward and asked for help, to the land, to the flame, to my ancestors. I placed my hand on my heart, then to the earth, then to the fire, and I spoke. I call forth this night not as an escape, but as a return. I return to myself. I return to my roots. I return to the fire that never went out. May she be healed. May I be restored. May my ancestors walk with me now. This is for the ones who came before. This is for who I am becoming. This is for the one I love who now needs the flame. Ancestors of my blood and spirit, I invite you through this flame, not to fix me, not to prove yourselves, but to remind me of who I am. Your fire runs through me. Let it rise now. You are not lost. You are not alone. I stand in your place of strength tonight. Take the warmth from this fire. Take the healing from our line. You are loved. You are safe. Come back gently. Just as I finished, just as I lifted my hand from the earth, the sound came. It pierced the night, not of fear, not of pain, but of something ancient, a cry that moved through chest and a bone like a forgotten memory, raw, wild, soul deep. My friend turned sharply and whispered, "Lynxes." I followed his gaze, and then I saw them, moving between the shadows, their shapes unmistakable, not imagined, not spiritual alone. They were truly there. Several lynxes walking just beyond the edge of the firelight. In that moment I felt it, a shift, like the air itself had exhaled. She was no longer just with me. She had become something greater, a force, a gate, a guide, and the lynxes. They didn't come to mourn. They came to mark a crossing. One let out a second cry, deep and echoing through the very fabric of night. It wasn't just sound, it was transmission. And later I understood. It was the moment she began to cross. That was her answer. The next day, I found out she was gone. I couldn't believe it. I thought she would stay, that she would get better, that she didn't want to leave. But now I understand. If she hadn't left, I may have never asked the questions I asked, or taken the path I needed to walk. So I went into the woods, alone. At first, it was a toothache that forced me to leave. A sharp pain that came after a deep meditation. One where I tried to connect with my ancestors. I didn't think much of it at first. But now, looking back, I wonder if they were calling me. If that ache was the way they got me to move. If Isis hadn't chosen to go, I may not have felt the need to reach deeper. I wouldn't have gone to the forest. I wouldn't have lit the fire. I wouldn't have asked the questions that followed. I walked barefoot, guided by something deeper than grief. I carried wood, the memory of her, and lit another fire. Not to ask, but to understand. There, in the firelight, the forest holding me in its breath, I asked aloud the questions that had begun to rise in my soul. Who am I, if she came to me? Why me? What am I meant to do now with what she gave me? That night, something pulled me deeper into the forest, as if the fire itself wasn't done speaking, as if her spirit had one more teaching to give. I didn't move with intention, I moved with surrender. And beneath the hush of the trees, I came upon something unexpected. A single bone, small and white, nestled beneath the leaves. Beside it, a vibrant orange leaf, like fire captured in form. And near where I stood, a staff, half buried in the earth. Not one I had brought, but one that seemed to be waiting. It felt familiar, like it had once been mine, but in a life long past. There was no logic, only knowing. I picked them up and returned to the fire, carrying no questions and only quiet reverence. I sat. First, I held the bone, cool, still, ancient. I pressed it to the ground beside the fire and whispered, "You will not burn. you will stand watch, a guardian of what is sacred. Then came the yellow leaf. I pressed it gently to my belly and said, I carry my own light now. I no longer need others to hold it for me. I let go of guilt. I rise in strength. I fed it to the flames and watched it curl, releasing its golden smoke into the air. Then I lifted the staff, my silent companion from another time. I held it like a vow and declared, this is my stand. I walk with fire now, not to destroy, but to protect. And as it entered the flame, something happened. The fire stirred, it rose, and in its heart a shape formed. The letter M, not just a symbol, a mark, a seal left in light. M for memory, M for mystery, M for the mother flame she carried in her spirit. It hovered in the fire's dance, and I felt it land in my chest like a message I'd waited lifetimes to receive. Then my vision changed. I was no longer seeing through my own eyes. I was seeing through hers. The fire shimmered differently. The space pulsed with quiet life. Her stillness, her wisdom were all around me. She had not left. She had become the gate. And then, gently, I reached for the final piece, the orange peel I had been carrying. I pressed it to my heart and whispered, for all the sweetness I received, for the joy I forgot to taste, thank you. I offer this not in sorrow, but in gratitude. Its scent rose like sunlight from the fire, and as it burned, something closed, not with finality, but with peace. That night, I wasn't just remembering her. I was becoming who she had always seen in me, the guardian, the flame bearer, the one who walks with fire now. Only later did I truly hear her name, Isis. It wasn't a name I chose. It had been given long ago without great ceremony, but it stayed. And like her, it waited, silent, patient, carrying its weight without needing to be understood. It wasn't until she left that I began to feel its echo inside me. Isis, the guardian of mysteries, the weaver of life and death, the keeper of the sacred flame. She had come bearing that name not as a label, but as a lineage. She had come as Isis, not the goddess, but the echo of her, the breath of her, in the form I could receive, to guide me, to help me remember, to lead me to the temple within. And when her task was complete, she crossed the veil, just as quietly as she came. Only then did I understand why she had come to me, not just as a companion, but as a messenger from the beyond, carrying a name I had forgotten was mine to hear. I realized then that this wasn't a ceremony I was making up. It was one I had always known, buried in the roots of memory that stretched far beyond this life. The fire, the forest, her spirit, they were guiding me in a ritual far older than thought. That morning, I couldn't eat. My body refused it. It wasn't grief. It was something else, something sacred. My spirit had chosen fasting, silence, emptiness, a clearing of the vessel before the message would arrive. I sat by the fire, not as one in mourning, but as one being prepared. By what? I still did not know. But the forest knew, and the fire knew. And so I waited. And then I remembered the temple of the black cat. It had come to me long ago in a vision. A temple hidden between two ancient willow trees. At the time, I didn't understand what it meant. I only felt its pull, its quiet invitation. But now, it was as clear as breath. The temple wasn't a dream. It was a place I was being called to find, not just in the world, but within myself. I took the ashes from the fire, and with the bone wrapped in them, I walked to where the temple had once appeared in vision. Between the willows I stopped. The air shimmered. Something ancient stirred. And there, I buried the bone beneath the earth. I placed a single white violet on top, soft, pure, and full of the silence she had always carried. This was not the end. It was the sealing of something sacred. As I stood there, the wind whispered around me, the trees bowed, the fire's warmth still clung to my skin, and I heard her, not in words, but in presence. This is where I wanted to lead you. This is why I came. This is why I left. She had been the key all along, to the temple, to the question, to the flame. In the days that followed, I kept tending fires. I couldn't stop. I would shape the logs, adjust the coals, protect the flame, as if each movement was a prayer, a way to keep her near, a way to remember what she had shown me. And every time the fire sparked, I felt her, in the heat, in the hush, in the very shape of the flame. She had taught me not through noise, but through silence, through presence, through love, without conditions. And when I feel lost, I go back to the flame, because she is still there. As the days passed, something inside me shifted. Not all at once, but like a tide slowly pulling back to reveal what had always been hidden beneath the surface. I began to understand that she hadn't just come into my life as a companion. She came as a teacher, a mirror, a guardian. She held something sacred in her stillness, something I had spent my whole life running from. And when she left, it wasn't to punish me, it was to pass the torch. She had carried silence like a crown, and now it was mine to carry. I kept returning to the place between the trees, to the temple of the black cat. Each time, the air felt thicker with presence. Each time, the veil between worlds grew thinner. I wasn't just visiting a memory. I was entering a lineage, one of fire, of stillness, of sacred guardianship. The lynxes hadn't come by accident. The bone hadn't been random. The vision, the fire, the vow, they were all part of the same thread. And I realized that this wasn't just her story. It was mine too, woven together. Long ago, long before we met in this lifetime, I had whispered a vow into the ether. If I forget who I am, send someone to remind me. Someone who will wait, who will watch, who will hold the truth until I can carry it again. And across time, across lifetimes, she had answered. I will come, she had said, small, quiet. I will lay across your root and your center. I will stay until it is time. And when the moment comes, I will leave, not to wound you, but to awaken you. And so she did. She stayed through my storms. She watched me in silence. She anchored me when I didn't know how to stay grounded on my own. And when the time came, when the fire was ready, she left so I could rise. Now I am the one who walks with fire. I am the fire keeper. She didn't give me her burden. She revealed my purpose. The fire was never hers alone. It had always been waiting in me. She had carried the thread of remembrance in silence, weaving presence through pain, guiding without a word. And when she left, she passed the thread to me. I am the weaver now, the one who stitches meaning into loss, who braids memory into ritual, who holds the sacred line between forgetting and remembering. The name she bore was no accident. Isis, the one who mends, who makes whole, who restores what has been broken. And now I understand. She did not come just to love me. She came to awaken the part of me that could carry her work forward. I carry her memory not as weight, but as flame. I tend to it with care. I sit in silence. I listen. I speak less. I burn more cleanly. And I protect the gate between the trees, the one she led me to. Sometimes I still feel her. Not as weight, but as warmth. Not as longing, but as light. A flicker in the fire's dance, shaped like her silhouette. A wind that brushes past like a silent blessing. And in those moments, I do not call her back. I do not hold on. I simply bow. Because I know she is free. She is not gone. She has become the silence in my breath, the heat in the flame, the whisper in the trees. She no longer waits in the shadows. She walks ahead now, clearing paths I've yet to see. This is her story, and it is mine. Not a story of grief, but of transmutation. Not of loss, but of lineage. This is the flame she returned to me, and the vow I now keep awake. The temple, the one between the willows, the one etched into vision and now into breath. It lives in me. She is the teacher who came in silence. She is the fire. She is the gate. And now, she is the sky through which I rise. She is the temple I now carry within.